That's my baby. I'm dying. That's my baby.
We're going at it at 110%.
I just want 5 minutes of happiness, please. Just give me 5 minutes.
And they scored.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Sports House exclusively on ATDRadio.com. Like, subscribe, comment, share. Live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Periscope, Instagram, Twitch. If you miss anything here on ATDRadio.com, download us, podcast form, Spreaker, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Takeover Talk. As always, the Sports Hounds are brought to you each and every Monday by our doc, Make Them Yours Too, Dr. Paul Vidal at Specialized Physical Therapy, 2 convenient locations, Burlington and Cherry Hill. He's our doc. Like I said, Make Them Yours Too. Body Check Wellness is a line of products that promote wellness, balance, and recovery by using the full potential of hemp. They come in extracts, blends, gummies, and topicals. Use promo code A2D, 20% off. Hockey Happy Hour. I believe they're grabbing Chris Pronger again. Be sure to check that out as the NHL playoffs progress. We got live look-ins at the Boston Bruins and the New York Islanders. 1-1. I would assume it's going to be 1-1 at the first intermission. 30 seconds left in the first period. Bucks and Nets, get underway. About 8 o'clock, I would assume. Big game 2. Montreal, Winnipeg, they'll play later. Montreal surprisingly up 3-0 over the Winnipeg Jets. A sleeper pick at the beginning of the season. A dark horse by our one Brad Ryer here. He's Brad Ryer. I'm Rob Brinkman. Frank Vesby's producing the show as usual. We'll get to all your comments in a little bit. Quiet night in baseball, but we'll talk some baseball. We always enjoy talking baseball. Bryce Harper's back for the Phillies. Yankees falling deeper and deeper behind the Red Sox and the Tampa Bay Rays, who just seem to never lose baseball games. But, it's kind of post-Memorial Day in baseball. So we kind of got an idea on who's showing up for the rest of the season and who's not really showing up. So we're going to get into that. But we're going to start in the NFL. Brad, it's not every day that one of the greatest receivers of all time is traded for a measly.
We all knew that was going to happen, though.
For just a measly second-round pick. He goes to the Tennessee Titans. There was rumors all over the place. Yeah, but it's a second round. It's second round, fourth round. I mean, seems like you should get a first-round pick for one of the greatest receivers of all time.
Well, here's the problem.
Franchise quarterbacks like Carson Wentz, though, they don't get traded for first-round picks. But then Matt Stafford gets traded from Detroit to Los Angeles for 2 first-round picks. I don't get it.
Well, the problem is, first of all, he's 32 years old. Secondly, he's making a lot of money. Thirdly, he's been injured the last 2 seasons and has not been able to play a full season in 3 years. So that in itself is a big reason why Atlanta did not get a whole heck of a lot for Julio Jones. If you're asking me as far as our 2 teams are concerned, the Eagles or the Giants, I think we were smart to just let it go.
That's our poll. That's our poll question night. We're lumping all the NFC East teams into one tonight. Cover a lot of bases. We're trying to do our best to talk about every NFL team here in the first half hour of the show. So poll question was the NFC East teams were smart to pass on Julio Jones. You spoke for your Giants. It was a disagree. I think that's a better fit than my Eagles. But I mean, what's a 32-year-old wide receiver going to do for what's going to be, in my estimations, a rebuilding year for this Eagles franchise?
Yeah, and the other thing with the Giants is the Giants are not a Super Bowl contender right now. Getting guys like Julio Jones is for teams who are ready to win a Super Bowl right now. Okay, clearly Tennessee is a now team, and they have now put their chips in the middle of the table, and they're going for it. Having Henry as your running back, having Julio now to go with a pretty good group of receivers. That team offensively is now built to win. My problem with that team was that their defense is not very good, and they really haven't addressed it as much as they should have in the offseason. But, I mean, they can outscore everybody. I guess that's what they're going to try to do at this point.
But, I mean, when you look at, like, it's frustrating because you see on Facebook everyone wants to trade for Julio from an Eagles standpoint. You look at people, let's trade for Julio, let's trade for Julio. Like, no, that's the kind of trade you make when you have a franchise quarterback like Carson Wentz. Then you put all your chips in the middle of the table, and you get Carson Wentz, a guy like Julio Jones, just has to play with complete jackasses like Jalen Reagor and J.J. Arcega-Whiteside.
That would be a trade for the Rams to make, or the Seahawks.
Correct.
You know, but the Falcons are not going to trade with those teams because those teams hate each other. So it was pretty obvious, and they were going to trade him in the NFC. They did what was smart for the Atlanta Falcons. They got the best deal they could out of an AFC team, so that they wouldn't have to face the music and be facing him time after time.
Obviously Dallas, like they don't need receivers. They have CeeDee Lamb, they have Amari Cooper, they have Gallup, they have Zeke, they have an embarrassment of riches on the offensive side of the ball. They need to address their defense.
If the Cowboys were going to get receivers, they would have drafted Devontae Smith instead of passing.
They need defense there. The one team I was kind of nervous about. I was kind of nervous about the Washington football team getting them because I do think that would have been a decent fit. I think he would have helped them. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick could have gotten him the ball where Julio Jones likes to have the ball. And that's really the only NFC East team that I could feasibly see being a realistic fit for Julio Jones. Because the Washington football team, they are the defending champions of this crap hole division that we call the NFC East.
Let's remember one thing, okay? They were 7-9. You're not talking about a 13-3 team. Yeah, you're talking about a team that was under 500. Julio might get him. Julio might have gotten them to 9-7, maybe 10-6, maybe. I mean, who knows? I mean, the thing with Julio Jones, as I said, is the problem with Julio Jones is that A, his age is working against him, and B, he hasn't been able to stay on the football field the last 2 seasons. So,
but
again, you got to wonder about that.
Well, I mean, he's going to help the Titans. He's a tremendous talent.
Yeah,
tremendous talent.
He's also a big cap hit too. That's a lot of the reason.
Well, I mean, I know I use this I beat this argument to death, but good players make a lot of money, and Julio Jones is an all-time great wide receiver. He's going to make a lot of money. That's the way sports work.
Of course. But if you're getting a guy like him, you've got to be right on the precipice of winning a championship. You know,
but like when you say the Washington,
just to try to make the playoffs, that's not smart. It's not a good move for a team trying to make the playoffs. It's a move for a team that's trying to put themselves over the top. So I can absolutely see how a team like the Titans would go after him. Buffalo is a team that could have tried to go after him. I mean, those are the kind of teams. Green Bay would be a team that would try to go after him.
I'm glad Aaron Rodgers didn't get him.
No,
he doesn't deserve Julio Jones. I'm so out on Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers has become the LeBron James of the NFL.
He's such a bitch.
And he's a clown.
Aaron Rodgers is a bitch. I'll say it right here. Aaron Rodgers is a bitch. I'm not a fan of him. I don't like the Packers. I hope the Bears win that division. They won't because Aaron Rodgers is a terrific player. But, I mean, I'm so over Aaron Rodgers.
I agree.
I was hoping, in my heart of hearts, I was hoping that the Niners traded for Julio Jones. I thought that would have been an awesome fit.
There's no way the Falcons would be trading him to the 49ers.
Why?
Why? Because first of all, they were in the West all those years, okay, for a long time. Now they're still in the same conference. If you're the Falcons, you're trying to trade him to the AFC so you don't have to deal with him. I mean, that's pretty much what kind of happens with these kind of trades.
I mean, you kind of got to trade him wherever you can. I mean, I wouldn't deal with my division. But you kind of got to trade him where you can because of his age, because of his salary.
But but they also may have gotten the best deal from Tennessee as well.
I mean, maybe. They definitely did.
A lot of teams, and listen, the Ravens would have been a great spot for him too. But I mean,
that's a good point.
A lot of these teams just can't fit him under the cap. You know,
But the Ravens, that's not a Raven thing to do. Trade big splash wide receiver.
no, it's not.
That's not what the Ravens do. The Ravens build in the trenches. They build with defense, and they run the football, and they have a tremendous athlete in Lamar Jackson at quarterback that they
I know, but
picked in the first round.
Let's be honest. He would have been a pretty good fit for them, though, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, I know. I'm just but those are the kind of teams that would pick up a Julio Jones. The Giants, no. The Eagles, no. The Washington football team, maybe, but they're still not good enough to go to get out of the first round, even if they had it. I mean,
someone's going to win this division. And getting back to your comment earlier, how many wins do you think wins this division this year?
9, maybe
so
10.
9 and 8.
9 and 8, 10 and 7.
10 and 7.
I think that's all it's going to be needed.
Now you got to think Dallas is clear favorites to win the East. They're the only team in the whole division with a franchise quarterback.
That's true.
That's what the league is. It's a quarterback league, and I think Joe Judge and Ron Rivera are better coaches than Mike McCarthy. And obviously the jury's still out on Nick Sirianni, even though I think Nick Sirianni, I get a good hunch about Nick Sirianni. I think he's going to be a good coach. I don't think he has the talent he needs to be successful in year one. But, I mean, 9 wins is not very high. Now,
yeah, but if you're going to get knocked out in the first round of the playoffs, it's really not that big of a deal.
No, playoffs is always better than no playoffs.
Yeah, but the idea is to win the Super Bowl. That's the idea of the NFL.
No. See, this narrative that gets pushed in our society regarding sports these days is wrong, and I hate it. Is that if you can't win a championship, then you might as well have the first pick in the draft. It's wrong. I watched a fraud process. I watched a fraud process for the first 6 years.
What is the point in loading up to get knocked out in the first round of the playoffs?
But you don't know. Like, if the Washington football team gets Julio Jones, you think they're a lock to get knocked out in the first round of the playoffs? In a week, and what looks like, I understand it's June, but what looks like a weak NFC, the AFC looks like a far superior conference.
Maybe so.
Far superior.
The Redskins, but you're mistaking the Redskins for being a good football team. They have no offensive line. Okay, Ryan Fitzpatrick, as we all know, is either a home run or a strikeout as far as quarterbacks are concerned. They really don't have much of a running game. Their offensive line stinks still. Yeah, I mean, they have a good defensive line. That's what they have.
I don't know.
That's their strength. Okay, even if they win the division, which I don't think they will this year, they're very simply. Remember, they lost twice to the Giants last year. Okay, in case you forgot about that, they won 2 games against Dallas and they won 2 games against the Eagles. That's not going to happen this year.
I understand, but I watched them in a wild card. I watched them in a wild card game with Tyler Heineke, and they almost beat the Super Bowl champion, the greatest quarterback of all time, greatest football player of all time, Tom Brady. Stood toe for toe with them.
Well, but they were never really in danger of losing.
So I'm just saying, just to say that if the Washington football team traded for Julio Jones, they're guaranteed not to get out of the first round. I don't know if I agree with that. You got Green Bay, who I hate because Aaron Rodgers is a bitch. He's got more help than
slaughter Washington.
I get that because Aaron Rodgers, but you got them at the top. You got the Rams at the top. Past that, who you got?
The Rams would slaughter.
I understand that. I'm giving you the Rams and I'm giving you the Packers. Who in the NFC scares you besides those two?
Let's see.
I think the Niners are going to be better.
Yep, I agree with that.
The Bears made the playoffs last year.
The Bears are
not
still
scared.
good.
They're not scaring me, even though I love Justin Fields. I think he's going to be the second best quarterback in this draft, and I can't believe the Niners didn't take him third.
However, it's very hard for a rookie quarterback to go anywhere and win a playoff game. That's
okay. So scratch off the Bears. We already scratched off everyone in the East. Well, we're assuming that the East is going to be a one-bid league, and that's going to be Washington for the purposes of this argument. And you got the West. I mean, Seattle has Russell Wilson, but
Seattle will beat them too. They're not beating
Seattle. Is Seattle like this world beater team?
No,
they don't have Legion of Boom. They don't have Marshawn Lynch anymore. Chris Carson's okay. They have tremendous receivers.
But they're still better than the Redskins. You really think the Redskins are going to go to Seattle and win in the playoffs? That's not going to happen.
I've seen a Washington football team with Julio Jones on it. I've seen much stranger things happen in my 31
They're
years
not
of watching
going
sports.
anywhere with Julio Jones. Come on.
But I'm just saying, to pass on Julio Jones because you can't win a Super Bowl, I think is stupid. You got to get
Rob. They may
get yourself in the dance. You got to put the best team on the field you can.
They may not have had the cap space either.
That's true. I'm just saying,
that's the other point. But I don't think that there. I mean, I agree with Thomas Arnone. Just made a good point. Okay, the Redskins were not. Excuse me. The Washington football team is not good enough to get a player like that. They're just not. You know, that's the point, and I totally agree. That's why none of the teams in the East.
All I'm saying is he was done in Atlanta because that jackass Shannon Sharp called him on national TV, didn't tell him he was on national TV, and Julio Jones spoke way more freely than he should have about his situation in Atlanta, diminishing Atlanta's return for Julio Jones.
Yeah,
which is a whole separate thing. The first thing that got me all worked up is this notion in this society regarding sports that if you can't win a championship, you might as well have the first pick in the draft.
No, that's not true.
And you know who made that famous? Scam Hinkie and the process junkies here in Philadelphia. Process was a joke. It was a joke. It was a con job.
That was awful.
And they're still not even good enough to win a freaking championship. They still and I know I'm right, even though everybody hates me for saying it, because guess what I did? Guess what I saw scrolling through Facebook? Oh, why don't we get Kawhi Leonard? Why don't we get Dwayne Lillard? You're in the Eastern Conference semifinals. You're talking about free agency already?
With what money are you going to get these guys?
Well, it'd have to be a sign and trade for either of those guys, so they can sign their supermaxes.
Okay, yeah, that's
the Portland Trailblazers and the Los Angeles Clippers can pay more money.
Damian Lillard is not a free agent.
You have to trade big time
for him,
but he's gonna get. He might already have a supermax contract.
Kawhi is another story. We don't really know what his plans are. Had they got knocked out by Dallas, I think there would have been a very good chance that he would have.
I was gonna bet the Clippers in that game, but I chickened out.
Well, I mean, listen, that was the kind of series. I'll tell you what. How small was Kristaps Porzingis in that series?
And now he's bitching because he's second fiddle.
Oh, out again. You know what? He could have been first fiddle, but you know what?
He's like Jimmy Butler.
He was whining and being a big crybaby in New York. So now he's worn out his welcome in New York, and now he's going to wear out his welcome in Dallas. And you know what? Dallas is going to end up trying to trade him. I heard that he didn't get along with Luka, so I don't think he's going to be there next.
He doesn't get along with anyone. He's like Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, no, he's a big crybaby.
Except Jimmy Butler's really good and can somewhat back up his bad attitude. But Jimmy Butler can't get along with anyone.
The difference between
Kristaps Porzingis can't get along with anyone.
Yeah, the difference between KP and Butler is Butler can actually be on the court every night and play. Okay, KP needs his rest periods. He's the Giancarlo Stanton of football, of the NBA.
Looking to buy or sell a home, looking for a changing career or brokerage, contact Alan Foy of eXp Realty at 302-682-8820 or visit him at alan.foy@exprealty.com via email. Let's get to some comments here. We have a lot to chew on. We're going to talk some more NFL. We haven't talked about the schedule yet. We haven't really talked about where the league's at as mini camps are approaching. Is Zach Ertz going to get traded from the Eagles, or are any other shoes going to drop? I know Aaron Rodgers is unhappy. The Russell Wilson saga continues. The Deshaun Watson nonsense going on in Houston. We're going to get in the NFL here, along with the NBA, NHL, and MLB later on. No games tonight. No game. There's like 2 games in the MLB tonight. I was hoping there was more games, so we do a post-Memorial Day baseball show. But we'll get to that. Andy Ritter, what's up, boys? Have a great show. I'm going to have to disagree. I think someone like Julio would have been a shot in the arm for some of these teams. These teams need a fresh vet to come in and recognize these teams to re-energize these teams. Excuse me.
At 32 years old, by the time those teams got good, he'd be washed up. That's the problem, and he's already.
I understand, but Julio Jones is not washed up. I think the injuries are one thing, and I get that, but I think 32 years old, I think people are making too much of that. I really do. He's still a stud.
32 years old only matters if you're getting injured all the time. If you're getting injured all the time and you're 32 years old, that's a problem. If you've been healthy your whole career, it's not a problem. I mean, there's an old 32 and there's a young 32, and I don't think Julio Jones has been the same the last 2 years at all. And he's also been getting hurt. Now, you can make what you want of it. Maybe he just wasn't motivated by playing on such a bad team the last couple of years. Now he's got his chance. He's with Travis Henry now. Okay, he doesn't even have to be the focal point of the team, and he's not going to be the focal point of the team. But for a team like the Titans to get Julio Jones when they already have Henry, who's arguably still the best running back in the NFL, and teams are not going to be able to put 8 guys in the box with Julio Jones out there. Say what you want about their quarterback, Tannehill is still good enough to make a big play and to throw a big pass. Okay, having a great running back like Henry just makes it not necessary to do that. But they're going to be a handful to stop next year.
Are they better than the Colts?
I think they are now.
It's interesting because the AFC South stinks. So those two teams they're going to be able to beat up on the Jaguars, who I like the direction that the Jaguars are going.
They better enjoy beating up on the Jaguars the next year or two, because I'll tell you what, in a couple of years that team's going to own that division.
And Houston, I think Houston will be lucky to win a game.
Houston's terrible. So those teams will be able to get their 4 wins for sure, and they'll probably split against each other. But I still, right now, I got to tell you, I think the Titans right now are ahead of the.
Even with that I can't get past that defense. I think the Colts are a better all-around team. And I think the Colts have a better quarterback.
The Titans' defense was bad last year. They had a legitimately bad defense. And we'll see what happens. I mean, but again, that kind of a threat is going to be tough. And you know what? To have Julio Jones just opens it up even more for Henry. I mean, how many 200-yard games is Henry going to have when Jones is a receiver? Think about that. I mean, and if you double cover Jones, okay, and you're not paying proper attention to Henry, I mean, some of the other guys in that team, I mean, they've got some guys who can catch the ball on that team as it is. So, I mean, they're going to be very, very tough to defend.
Who's a better coach, Frank Reich or Mike Vrabel?
That's a tough one. I think Vrabel's really good.
I agree, but I think Frank Reich's really good too.
Frank Reich is really good too. I mean, that's a tough one. I mean, it's close. I just think right now, I think the Titans are a little ahead of the Colts. Now, that's not to say.
Do you think Ryan Tannehill is better than Carson Wentz?
Right now, he is. Carson Wentz has a lot to prove.
Okay. Carson Wentz going to be just fine.
We'll see.
He's going to be just fine. He's going to have Frank Reich. He's going to get rolled out of the pocket. He's going to have a much better offensive line. He's going to have an organization that has a clue. Carson Wentz could be terrific in Indianapolis.
They really don't have great receivers anymore. I mean, T.Y. Hilton is nowhere near.
Did you watch any Eagles games the last 2 years, Brad?
Yeah, no, I know.
You, Tom Arnone, Brian Wilson would have been a better quartet of wide receivers. That's not even an exaggeration.
No. I understand that. I'm just saying, the Colts at the wide receiver spot at this point aren't really. That's not really their strength. Their strength is all around. They're all around pretty good. Listen, if Carson Wentz has a big year, yeah, then I could see the Colts. I just don't know. I think right now he's a big fat question mark. He's not a definite in my book. Right now, to me, Carson Wentz has a lot to prove this year.
Brian Daly agrees.
He might very well prove it, but
the Eagles team isn't ready for a piece like Julio. Brian Wilson, the Eagles were smart to pass on him. Come on, Halibut. Yeah, I do agree. I don't see him doing much. But at the same time, we need to hope our QB can make moves. I assume that he's referring to the Eagles and Jalen Hurts. And Jalen Hurts is free to prove me wrong, Brad, but I don't see him as a franchise quarterback in this league.
Well, right now, if you look at Pro Football Focus, he's rated 30 out of 31.
That's fair because there's no body of work.
I'm just saying Daniel Jones right now is rated 20, which isn't exactly saying a lot for him either. Fitzpatrick I think that's pretty accurate because I took a look at the guys that they have ahead of him and I couldn't really argue anybody. Fitzpatrick was 18. I couldn't argue that either. I mean, I'm looking at Dak was like 8, I think, which again I think that's pretty accurate.
That's fair.
Yeah, I think it's pretty accurate. I think the ratings that they had were right on the money, and we'll see. I mean, again,
who was first? Mahomes.
Yeah, Mahomes was first. I think Rodgers was second, and I believe Brady was fourth. I don't remember who was third.
It's got to be Russ. Got to be Russ.
Probably it was. It probably was. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious. I mean, where these guys were. At this point, I think you would have to say, he has a lot to prove. But he also, keep in mind, I mean, he had no receivers to throw the ball to last year. I think a lot of those players quit on the team last year, particularly in some of those road games when they got blasted. I think having a new coach and a new personality is going to help them. And one thing Hurts does have, I think he has that intangible in him that makes him, that's going to make him be a bit of a factor. If he makes a big running play, what he's going to do is he's going to liven up the crowd. He's going to spark the team. I mean, there's things he can do to try to spark that team. The big question for the Eagles is, can their defense, particularly their secondary, keep things under control for them?
I mean, you're going to have Slay back, and then it's kind of a bunch of unknowns.
Right.
I don't think Avonte Maddox can play at all. I mean, I guess you're starting a rookie, Zach McPherson out of Texas Tech.
Would that be so horrible? You're developing somebody.
Yeah, I mean, I can't, unless I'm missing someone on the depth chart. There's a goal by the New York Islanders. I believe that was another power play goal. Islanders go up 2-1 on the Boston Bruins in a critical Game 5.
That is going to be that is a huge goal because the Islanders, when they get ahead, they are really, really tough. I mean, the Islanders, let's be honest, the Islanders are a scary team. As much as I despise them, as much as I want them to lose, I mean, the fact that I would ever root for a Boston team to beat a New York team, regardless of who it is, I mean, I wouldn't even root for the Red Sox to beat the Mets.
I like the Red Sox this year. I know I've talked a lot of shit on them in the past, but the Red Sox are fun. They hit the ball. They're a dynamic offense. JD Martinez is doing well. I love Devers. I love Bogarts. They're a fun team this season.
They're playing better this year. As far as the Yankees are concerned, I mean, if anything I say negative about Boston will sound like sour grapes, so I'm not even going to comment on it because it would just make me look bad to do that.
Brian Wilson, get back to the NFL. We'll get to baseball a little bit. Any Eagles fan that wanted to spend a second-round pick on a 32-year-old wide receiver when we just drafted 2 first-round wide receivers needs to get a clue.
I would agree. I would agree with him.
I agree with that, but they're out there. There's people. Brian Wilson has Facebook. I have Facebook. You have Facebook. Everyone out there has fucking Facebook, and everybody sees that there's people out there that wanted Julio Jones in Eagles green, and people that are just like perplexed that he's not an Eagle. Let the kids play. You let the kids play. Because you got to let all these kids play because you're going to have 3 first-round picks.
They also have no clue how to build a football team. That is not how you build a football team, okay? With a 32-year-old player, it's going to take 2 to 3 years for the Eagles to try to be Super Bowl contenders. And I'm not talking about trying to win the division. Winning the division, to me, is not that big a deal, okay? If you can if you can make the playoffs and actually do something with it, then it's a big deal. If you've been a horrible team for a long time, okay, and then you finally make the playoffs, yeah, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. But when it's the Eagles who pretty much been playoff regulars for the last decade, getting to the playoffs isn't good enough. You've got to at least get to the second round if you're going to start making trades like that. And that's not going to help. Eagles were smart. They're smart. Just leave it alone. You know what? Howie did a good job. He made all these trades, and he still got Devontae Smith in the first round, which is what all you guys wanted anyway, was to get one of those playmaking receivers. All you were doing was complaining all spring that you wanted one of those playmakers, and Howie did this and Howie did that. But you know what? He snookered his way into getting all those extra first-round picks, and he got your receiver. So you know what? Now you got a legitimate chance to rebuild and get some good players. Now, whether or not he makes the right picks, that's anyone's guess.
I just hope that I'm wrong about Jalen Hurts. I don't see Jalen Hurts as a franchise quarterback in this league. Tom Arnone says it all the time. You can't be a franchise quarterback in this league if you can't stand in the pocket and make 20 to 25 throws a game. I don't see Jalen Hurts ever being able to do that. Now, he's free to prove me wrong, because if you have 3 first-round picks in next year's draft and you don't have to use one on a quarterback, that speeds up this rebuild, retool, whatever you want to call it, exponentially. So I hope I'm wrong about Jalen Hurts.
Well, I think you got to at least give him an opportunity. And
he should 1,000% be the starting quarterback.
Yeah,
I wouldn't even.
You got to at least give him an opportunity. I mean, listen.
And the only reason he's not my start, the only way he's not my starting quarterback 2 years from now is if he just completely falls flat on his face this year. Like, my expectation for this team is to win 5 games. So if they win 6 games, he probably did pretty good. If they win less than 5 games, I'll have to look at it and see how it looked and see whose fault it was.
Well, let's see how many points the team scores this season. I mean, because you know what, he can't be blamed if their defense gives up a zillion points.
I understand.
If he throws for, say, 24, 25 touchdown passes, runs for like 7 or 8, and only throws maybe between 10 and 15 interceptions, / fumbles, only has like maybe 15 turnovers. You know what? Then he had a pretty good year. I
get it, but I got to see how it looks. I can't commit to like a win total. I can't commit to stats. I got to see how it happens.
You're gonna have Rager playing now. He's going to be able to start off healthy. Hopefully, he won't get hurt. He won't get hurt in training camp. He'll be
shitty Justin Jefferson.
Huh?
Shitty Justin Jefferson.
I don't know. You know what?
That's what I'm going to call. That's what I'm called, Jalen Rager. I'm going to call him shitty Justin Jefferson until.
Yeah, you can do that all you want. You know what? I used to do that with I don't know if you remember the Rangers in hockey team in 2010 went and drafted Dylan McIlrath, and with the next draft pick, the Blues drafted Jaden Schwartz. Okay, and you know what? The Rangers are in such bad need of a center. They may give up half their team to try to get an injured Jack Eichel. So you know what? And there was a guy you could have drafted a few years ago, and you picked a bad team. And the Boston Bruins, by the way, have just tied up the hockey game.
This series is so much fun.
Much
fun.
Really,
is that Marchand again?
Yep. What a goal that was!
You should see. I don't know if you were watching earlier, but he had a wrist snipe. It was a water bottle goal. By water bottle goal, I'm sure everyone knows what a water bottle goal is.
I mean, I know nobody. Listen, none of us like him. He's really kind of a big douche. But I'll tell you,
he's a huge scummer. But I love guys. Brad, you know me. I love the guys that everybody hates because he's not on their team. Like if
Right.
Marchand was on the Flyers, if
Oh, man,
Marchand
you
was
guys
on your
would be
Rangers,
thinking-
I would have his
you would be
jersey. I would
thinking-
have autograph shit. This, that, and the other. I would love him. Look, because
Yeah.
he can score goals like that where he gets to the front of the net and he can grind it out and bump and grind. And he can also
basically get tackled and almost killed on the play. I mean, it looks like he just had a bloody nose.
And I'm sorry, I was wrong. Pasternak scored the first goal.
Oh, Pasternak scored that goal?
Sorry.
Was
He's
that
a stud
Pasternak?
too. He's just
Pasternak.
the first goal. I thought it was Marchand, but I just looked at it and it wasn't.
Yeah, I was going to say that was Marchand that just scored that one. Pasternak is an
Pasternak.
He's an absolute stud. Pasternak.
But like, look at the goals in this series. 2-2, Game 5 in the TD Garden. First goal by Pasternak. Barzal answers Pasternak. Palmieri puts the Islanders on top. Marchand puts ties it up.
Yeah,
that's the four best players on the ice outside of goalies.
These are all premium players, and they all show up in the playoffs. You know, and that's key. You know, when your best players are playing their best, and boy, Tuukka's lucky he didn't get caught. He didn't get caught on that play. When your best players are playing like your best players, that's how you win playoff games.
Prism 280. Whoa, LO came at the right time. Aaron Rodgers being a bitch. Right on. I mean, I'm shocked that someone in the A2D community actually agreed with one of my sports takes. But right, we went through this last week. Aaron Rodgers is a bitch. He's a bitch. He blames all of his shortcomings on other people, on others. No one in his family talks to him, which speaks volumes about his character. All he wants to say is the Packers have a bad philosophy. I'll tell you what, if the philosophy
they drafted a young quarterback so that when he retires, they'll have somebody to put in his place.
Which I don't agree with. I don't agree with that move. But they did the same thing with Aaron Rodgers, so they have a track record of scouting good quarterbacks and always having the next guy ready
and bringing them along slowly. And you know what? If that's what they want to do, okay, then that's what they're going to do. And the other thing is, remember, the Packers are not going to be a team that tanks and gets a top 5 pick to get a quarterback. They're always going to be pretty far up in the standings. So you know what? That's the best way to. If you see a talented quarterback, you know what, and you're picking in the late 20s anyway. It does you no harm to do that. It's not like they were going to get one of the playmaking wide receivers. I mean, they were all gone by then. So
But this notion that he likes to perpetrate that he's got no help there in Green Bay, it's fake news, and I'm not buying it. Look, he has one of the best receivers. His right-hand man, Devontae Smith.
Is great. What is he talking about?
He's what, a top 5 receiver?
He's
certainly
phenomenal.
A top 5 receiver in the league.
Aaron Jones is an outstanding running back. What is he complaining about?
He scores 15 touchdowns a year. He catches the ball out of the backfield. He runs between the tackles. He's fast enough to take the edge. They always have a great offensive line. Always have a great offensive line.
Listen, whose fault was it when the Green Bay Packers intercepted Brady 3 times in a row, and he did absolutely nothing?
It wasn't Aaron Rodgers' fault. Just ask him.
Oh, right.
It was somebody else's fault. So Aaron Rodgers can go pound sand. He can go host Jeopardy or be on the ballot. Do whatever the hell you want to do. I'm sick of Aaron Rodgers. And they always have a pretty good defense, by the way.
Yeah, they do. They always do.
So it's not like Aaron Rodgers is out there putting up 50 points a game.
Their defense didn't lose that game against Tampa Bay. Aaron Rodgers lost that game.
Tom Arnone.
Ridiculous with that team.
I'm so over Aaron Rodgers. I'm so not a fan. I can't deny his talent, and he's probably a top 10 quarterback of all time. But I'm over him. The notion that he perpetrates that Green Bay doesn't know what they're doing, has a bad philosophy, and doesn't give him enough help is complete and utter nonsense.
Absolutely.
See what else we got going on here. I lost my spot here on the comments. Never pass bad. Nobody good enough for him in the NFC. That's from Tom Arnone. Need to stay healthy. Prism 280, who's going to be the Saints quarterback? I guess. I mean, Sean Payton, he loves Taysom Hill. He loves Taysom Hill.
I thought Taysom Hill played pretty darn well last year. I thought he
stand with Brad? We just talked about this with Jalen Hurts. Can Taysom Hill stand in the pocket 20 to 25 times a game and spin it and make those big time throws you need to make to be a franchise quarterback?
Well, I'll tell you what. Last year, if I remember correctly, he went to Atlanta on the road and had one hell of a game in Atlanta.
I hear you.
I mean, but now can he do that? Can he do that every week? That's the question. Is can he do it every week? That's the question. I mean, we know that he can run the ball. He can do. I think Taysom Hill is the kind of guy I would rather have him, being used in the way that they were using him before. Where he can be a receiver, he can be a running back, he can be a quarterback. It just makes him so dangerous. And New Orleans, when he's on the field, he could do anything. I think that's an incredibly valuable player to have. But I mean, if they think he can be a quarterback, you know what? I would trust his judgment. What a save, by the way, by
the Islanders are swarming now. The Bruins are swarming. This is a great hockey game on NBC Sports Network.
Now, I'll tell you,
watch it live. Watch it live with us right here on the Sports Sounds.
One other 9:15. Rob, I don't know how much you've watched of the Golden Knights and Colorado, but
I saw the first game where the Avalanche won 7-1, and they started fighting at the end.
That series has changed in complexion as soon as they got to Vegas. Things changed.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, as soon as
the Avalanche hitting the nightclubs and the blackjack tables,
as soon as Fleury went between the pipes for Leonard, things changed. If Colorado didn't win that game in overtime, it'd be in game 2, it'd be 3-1 right now. Because Vegas last night just kicked their asses. I mean, that was an outstanding effort by Vegas. I mean, both those games in Vegas, they were outstanding. So that's going to be a series, and this series here is just marvelous hockey. I mean, you got two of the best goaltenders in the league in this series. And basically, and I said it before, and I'll say it again about the Avalanche. I'm not sure about Brubauer. I'm just not sure. We've never seen him take a team, to the finals or to the semifinals. We haven't seen that yet out of him. So we'll see. Now, we know Fleury can do it. Fleury's won a couple of Stanley Cups, and he's also been to the finals with that team as well. So we'll see about that. But that team is that Vegas team. Talent-wise, they may not have the best talent in the league, but boy, they play as a team. It's remarkable.
Come on, Hollowball. Titans will be a playoff team for sure. Titans are better than the Colts.
I agree.
Yeah, I think the Titans and the Colts. I think the Colts are better. I do.
They definitely have a better defense. I'll give you that. But the Titans coach is also a defensive-minded coach. What a play by the Islanders! Wow, what a beautiful goal.
Tic-tac-toe. Is that Barzell again?
No, Josh Bailey.
He's pretty good too.
Oh yeah. Listen, both these teams go 4 lines, and both these teams can score. Have 4 lines that can score, and they have 4 lines that are physical too. What a great pass that was! Holy smokes! This is what makes the Islanders so dangerous. But I think they're better this year than they were last year. They're a better offensive team for sure.
5th goal of playoffs, 3-2 Islanders.
Yep. And again, you can't blame the goalies for any of these goals. I mean, these are just spectacular skill goals by some of these guys. And these guys are not only just good, they're gritty. So for us Ranger fans and Flyer fans alike, skill is not enough to win in the NHL, and it's not enough to win in the play. It's not enough to win in the playoffs either. you got to have a little grit to your game too. And these two teams are a fine example of that. You look at the Canadians, okay? Do they have a lot of skill on their team? No, but they got plenty of grit and they got a great goalie. You know, and you look at Colorado, they've got a lot of skill. Do they have enough grit? We'll see. I mean, they have superior skill, the Avalanche, but we'll see about if they have enough grit. You know, Vegas has grit. We'll see.
John Dougal, can't judge him for not staying in the pocket because our pocket collapsed within seconds last season. He's done what Wentz should have done more and use your legs. Not a bad comment. Not a bad comment, but I've seen Carson Wentz stand in the pocket 20 to 25 times a game and sling it. I haven't seen Jalen Hurts do that. I also didn't see Jalen Hurts do that in college. He was a superior college football player because of his athleticism, and he was always on the best teams at Oklahoma and Alabama, so he had 5-star recruits everywhere.
That makes a difference.
I mean, Carson Wentz, I know I like to get on prospects when we're doing our draft evaluations and fun things like that we do here on A2D Radio because Carson Wentz went to North Dakota State, and I like my players to be from the Big Ten and the SEC, but Carson's also proven he can look like a pro caliber quarterback while being surrounded by Division I AA talent.
Absolutely.
So like, I don't think that, like, look, I don't know. I think people who think Carson Wentz stinks, I don't understand. But that's me. And maybe he'll go to Indianapolis and he'll fall flat on his face and he'll just be a flash in the pan 2017 quarterback who just tore his ACL and was never the same. I don't know. I can't unsee what I saw in 2017 from Carson Wentz. He's just a stiff after doing that, dominated the NFL in his second year. Dominated, had the MVP on lock. He tore his ACL. Now he just stinks. I mean, I don't think sports and life works like that.
Beard is back too, though. To be fair.
Yeah, but he that healed, and he only hurt his back because he came back too soon from the knee and was compensating for.
Yeah, true. But I mean, the only thing I wonder about him is maybe he's a little gun shy. He's taken a lot of pretty brutal hits over the years. You know, I don't know that. I don't know what's in his mind. Only he knows that for sure. But you know, maybe that's part of it.
Come on, Holloway. Saints need to mix him up with the other guy. I think that's a terrible idea. Come on. If you're playing a platoon system at quarterback in the NFL, that's not going to work. The ship can't have two captains.
Rob Bovia's prediction is Wentz will be a better fantasy quarterback than Tannehill.
That's a bold prediction because Tannehill's got the weapons.
Tannehill also is going to they're going to run the ball 25 times a game too.
That's what the Colts are going to do that too.
Yeah, pretty much.
The Colts have Jonathan Taylor. He's a hell of a back. He was fourth in the league in rushing last year, and he missed a handful of games throughout the season.
It's going to be close. One thing Tannehill does do very well is he runs the ball. I don't know if Wentz is going to how much running he's going to do.
That's my bold prediction there, Pobes. Jonathan Taylor, rushing champion.
Could very well happen.
But yeah, Rob, check him out. Hockey Happy Hour. He fills in on other shows as well. Knows his stuff about hockey and fantasy. Check him out. Check out those guys. Check out all the shows here at A2D. And Povia comes in hot. The Julio will play 9 games max. I mean, he's an older guy, and he's is that another one? Islanders just got another one. 4-2 Islanders.
Bruins better stay out of the penalty box. That's 3 power play goals now.
That guy broke his stick and didn't work out well.
No, that killed him.
John Dougal, I'm not saying Carson stinks, but the time he played, our receivers couldn't even catch a cold. So change to a more movable quarterback, and he didn't like the competition for place. Well, the softness he displayed over, I don't even know. I can't even say that. Because, like, I don't know for a fact, no one does, that Carson Wentz was butthurt that the Eagles picked Jalen Hurts. I would raise questions, be like, what are we doing? You just paid me $100 million, and why don't you get me some receivers? Why don't you get me some offensive linemen? Why are you taking this guy in the second round? But, like, I can't really say that.
How he created a problem by doing that.
Right. And what is obvious is that they hurt the supporting cast of Carson Wentz by basically throwing away a draft pick and throwing away $36 million in cap space, because the guy you paid $100 million to that you said was untouchable, they couldn't even coach him. That's how much of a bubble Howie and this front office put around Carson Wentz, so to speak, if the rumors on the internet are true, to taking the biggest dead cap hit in NFL history.
Well, you know what? It's easy for them to say that now. But, you know, they're the ones that put the team together. You know, and they're the ones who ultimately have to bear the responsibility.
I don't know. That was such a tone-deaf draft pick. Because, like, if you do that in Green Bay, which they've done a couple of times, like, the fans are just going to be, oh, okay, like, I guess the team knows what's best. If the Giants or the Eagles or someone in the Northeast quarter does that, fans are going to get on you, because the fans are smart, and they're not just go with the flow.
No.
Go with the flow. Everything's great. Eagles are going to win 17 games. Giants are going to win 17 games.
The Northeast are as mean as they get, and they're smart as they get, and they hold everybody accountable. And if you're blundering in your selections as a general manager, or you're a crappy manager, or as a player, you're not showing up every day to play, you're going to get it. That's just how it is. We're not nice. We're not like St. Louis. We're not like St. Louis, who just cheers everybody, or or the middle of the country like that, where everybody.
Yeah, they give Colton. They give Colton Wong a standing ovation every time he comes back.
Yeah, I mean,
I like Colton Wong as much as the next guy, unbelievable defender, but I mean, I'm giving a standing ovation every time he comes back to St. Louis. I mean, it's a joke. But getting back to my point, like, I don't understand how Howie, Jeffrey Lurie, and that Eagles front office couldn't foresee the backlash that pick was going to make, whether it's from the fans, the media, the locker room, however you slice it. It was just a bad idea.
Yeah, it was.
I don't understand how
it was a dumb
cannot
pick.
See that coming.
If they wanted a good backup quarterback, they should have just signed one. And
sign a veteran.
With the
sign a veteran.
Yeah, exactly. That's where they.
Carson,
that's where they went.
Second round picks start. Franchises that know what they're doing, that optimize their assets, their second round picks start day one.
Yeah, that was a very, very clueless draft pick, and I remember when that happened. You guys were all up in. I remember on Facebook, you guys were all up in arms about it.
That was awful.
Yeah, it was. It was
awful, Brad.
It was It was not a smart pick.
Not to mention, you just paid the guy $100 million.
Yeah, it was kind of. It was. That was just a very. I mean, I understand that Wentz got hurt in the playoff game, but keep in mind. That was also he also got hurt by a cheap shot. It's not like he just went back to throw, and when he was running to the sideline to throw a pass, he pulled a hamstring. Okay, he got cheap shotted. I mean,
who did?
Wentz in that playoff game.
Oh, the playoff concussion.
Yeah, the playoff.
I mean, I think that
that was a cheap shot. That was a cheap shot, and. That just happened to be one of those things. I mean, that's not his fault.
I was a little dirty. It shouldn't have garnered some laundry on the field. Yeah, I think so.
I mean, his head hit the ground first.
Well, let me ask you this:
got piled on. That was a dirty play.
No, because Jadeveon, if you watch the replay, Jadeveon Clowney was diving before Carson Wentz even slid to. So it was kind of like bang bang. I get you; it's helmet to helmet, and that's a penalty in today's NFL. But let me ask you this: if it was any other player besides Jadeveon Clowney who has a bad reputation for this kind of stuff, do you think that the Philly fans and other people would be emphasizing how cheap it was? I don't think they would be.
No, I it doesn't matter if it's Clowney or anybody else. That to me was a dirty play. And a dirty play is a dirty play. It doesn't matter who does it. I mean, okay, yeah, Clowney is known for that kind of stuff, and unfortunately, Wentz fell victim to it. But that wasn't his fault. And I think the pick was a reaction to that, and unfortunately for the Eagles, Wentz mentally wasn't strong enough to overcome that. So we'll see. Very big power play coming up for the Bruins as Eberle takes a penalty. By the way, Eberle was the one that scored the fourth goal for the Islanders.
And I don't think Doug did Carson any favors either. I think Doug tried to fit the square peg in the round hole instead of just letting Carson be Carson. And I think that killed Carson.
Yeah, well, the problem with Doug was not flexible. Doug had to have everything done instead of playing to his players' strengths. He played to his system, and sometimes, good coaches will recognize what players' strengths and weaknesses are, and he will put them in a position to succeed. Not be a prisoner to his system, and I think that was part of the problem with Wentz. And part of the problem with Doug.
John, I hear John Dougal. Who took the field after that cheap shot on Carson? Josh McCown had to because Nate Sudfeld was hurt. Nate Sudfeld was the backup, and he was injured, so Josh McCown had to go in. And honestly, I was at that game, and Seattle was begging to get beat. They made one big play at DK Metcalf down the field the entire game. I think if Suds goes into that game, I think the Eagles advance, and then maybe Carson can play the next week in San Francisco. Maybe he can't. I don't know. But I can't believe Carson Wentz isn't, after what I saw in 2017. Crazy. Yes, Ralphie, the Sixers do desperately need to win tomorrow's basketball game, Brad.
Oh, yeah. Without a doubt. I mean, listen, you had to know that Atlanta
I'll have to check
a pushover. I mean, the way Atlanta handled the Knicks, and I understand that the Knicks were a great story and had a great season, and they played over their heads this year. I get that, but Atlanta's a good team, and you know what? I think the Sixers came out as flat as a pancake, and you can't expect to come back and beat a team in the playoffs when you go down 27 points. And let's be honest, if Trae Young is going to score as many points as Joel Embiid, you're dead because the rest of the Hawks have more talent than the Sixers. After you get past that, I mean, Joel Embiid is pretty much almost unstoppable. I mean, Capella, as good as he is, and Capella's a tremendous defensive player. But he still couldn't really stop Embiid, and the Sixers really didn't have much of an answer for Trae Young for most of the game. They were able to stop him pretty much in the fourth quarter, but by that time, it was such a big lead that they had to come back from. But I give them a lot of credit for coming back, and that's not easy to do that. But you can't let that happen. You just can't.
Look, what happened in the Sixers game on Sunday. First off, I'm really proud of Joel Embiid for playing in the basketball game. I didn't think he was going to play in another basketball game of the year. So kudos to him for proving me wrong, proving that he is tough, and going out there, not only playing, but scoring 39 points. He had 12 rebounds and 4 assists as well. That's an unbelievable game on one leg. I wonder how his knee feels right now, the day after the game. Because they got to play tomorrow, and they need him. And everyone wants to tell me how wrong I am about the team after the Joel Embiid injury because it's always something with this team. It's always Joe's hurt. Joe needs rest. Ben's not aggressive. Ben's not hitting foul shots. Supporting cast isn't showing. And Doc's being a dope, which, by the way, Doc Rivers, he's another guy who needs to get his head out of his ass because I haven't been impressed with him this playoffs one iota. And I can certainly see why the Los Angeles Clippers got frustrated with him and let him go after their shortcomings in the playoffs in the bubble. Like, what are you doing? Why are you taking out? Maxey brings you all the way back in the game. Game 4 against the Wizards without Joel Embiid. Maxey comes in, he's instant energy out the bench, and he takes him out. And he puts Ben back in, and all they do is hack Ben, and he can't make foul shots. You leave Maxey in that game, you win the game. You got to feel the situation. And then game 1, you're trying to put Danny Green on Trae Young? Are you kidding me, Doc? Are you kidding me? You did film study? Really... Did you do film study before this series?
Trae Young is just a great.
I understand, but you got to have Ben Simmons on him.
Oh, he
got to cut. You got it. No, he wouldn't, Brad. Yeah, have you seen Ben Simmons play defense? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, well, then why wasn't he guarding him the whole game?
He guarded him in the second half, and that's how the Sixers got back in the game.
No, they didn't get back in the game till the fourth quarter. I mean, really,
they lost the game by 4 points after being down by 27. So clearly they went into halftime and they made some adjustments. One of those adjustments was putting Ben Simmons on Trae Young.
But they were still down 17 going into the fourth quarter.
I get that, but they outscored him by.
They scored 43 points in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and it's a shame. And look, here's what happened at the beginning of the game. This is why they gave up 75 points in the first half, which is atrocious, by the way, at home. Absolutely atrocious. Well, everyone who played perimeter defense on Sunday should be ashamed of themselves.
If I'm a betting guy, I think my money would be all over the Sixers for game 2. I'd be shocked if they lost 2 games.
I got to see about Joe. And that's the other thing. Everyone wants to tell me how wrong I am about the Sixers because it's always something. Everyone's talking shit to me on Facebook while they're down by 27 points. Like, you guys watching the same game as me? You're getting torched. You're getting torched. Every single Sixer that played perimeter defense on Sunday should be absolutely ashamed of themselves. Because guess what? Now you're in a hole 0-1. You lose a home game to an inferior opponent, and your best player played. If you lose game 1 because Joe's out, okay, fine. But Joel Embiid, not only did he play, he was super effective, 39 points, 12 rebounds, and you still lose the game. How does that happen at home?
Part of the thing is, though, we really what we don't know is how healthy is his how torn is that ligament, and how many minutes is he going to be able to play?
Well, that's the thing. What if he wakes up tomorrow morning and can't play?
We don't know.
What if his knee's a bowling ball tomorrow morning and he can't go? Then you're going to be probably most likely, unless the supporting cast gets their head out of their asses.
Well,
you're probably going to be down. You're probably going to be down 0-2, Brad, and both the games were at home. Well, you're going back to Atlanta down 2.
If you have to go to Atlanta and he's not playing, you're dead because you're not going to beat them in Atlanta without him.
Look, the second he tore his meniscus, I threw my arms up in the air, and it's always something with this team. It's always something with this core. Whether it's Doc Rivers being an idiot, whether it's Ben Simmons not being aggressive, whether it's Ben Simmons not hitting his foul shots, whether it's Joel Embiid needing rest, whether it's Joel Embiid, injured, like it's always something. And all these process junkies on the internet, they have a built-in excuse. Oh, Joe was hurt. Oh, trust the process. Everything's going to be fine. Everything's not going to be fine. Everything's not going to be fine. I picked Atlanta in 6.
You can't just take any. The one thing you can't do is take anything for granted. Ben Simmons is not a good shooter. He also is a poor foul shooter. That comes back to haunt them, between the 4 and 2 minute mark of a close game. So that in itself is a bit of a problem. So I mean that's problem number 1. Trae Young is the big problem for Philly, because if Trae Young gets going, it's going to be awfully tough for Philly to beat this team. They are not going to be easy.
But like Trae Young, it's like you can't stop him. You can just hope to contain him.
Well, it's the same thing with Embiid.
Like when I'm watching the game, like when they're playing the Wizards, and I'm looking at Bradley Beal, I'm like, wow, man, Ben Simmons is doing a pretty good job on Bradley Beal. And I look down and I look at the end of the game, he's got 32, 33 points.
Yeah, but you know what it is?
Oh.
You know what it is, Rob? It's when are they getting the points? Are they getting
I
the
get
points
that.
in the fourth quarter, or are they getting the points in the first quarter? You know, that's the difference. And you know, when who's, you know, if they're going to the line late in the game and they're hitting all their foul shots, that's a big deal.
And then, like, I know I'm right about the Sixers because loudmouths on the internet, they're not even thinking about the Hawks anymore. They're thinking about who they're going to get, how they're going to be able to trade for Dame Lillard, and how they're going to be able to somehow sign Kawhi Leonard. So you're in the middle of a playoff run. You're talking about, You're the 1 seed in the East. You're the 1 seed.
They think they're going to get both of them.
I don't know what people think. They're not getting any of them.
Unless
they trade for Dame.
If they get one of them, it would be a miracle. Let's be honest. I mean,
So
that's going to be there are a lot of teams right now who are going to be after Lillard for sure. You know,
but like I'm the fraud fan. I'm the fraud fan because I'm passionate and wear my emotions on my sleeve. And I've already admitted defeat on calling Joel Embiid soft because he's not soft. Score 39 points with a torn meniscus like he did on Sunday is not soft. I'll concede that point. I was wrong about that.
He proved his point. And
I love people who prove me wrong. I love proving people wrong, but even more, I like when people prove me wrong even more. And Joel Embiid proved me wrong. I'm not backing off Hawks in 6. I'm not. And them losing game 1 at home with Joel Embiid dropping 40 only fortifies my point. And then I'm the fraud fan. Let me see if I can keep track of this. I'm the fraud fan. I'm the bandwagon guy when I got people all day on social media speculating on how we can get Dame Lillard and Kawhi Leonard on a team that's supposed to be like invincible because I was supposed to just blindly trust the process for the past 10 years. It's a joke. I don't understand these processors. I don't understand the process. I hate the process.
I haven't heard anything about Lillard being traded. Okay,
it's all speculation, Brad.
From what I've heard, he wants to stay there. He wants them to make some moves to be a better team. He was disgusted by the fact that Denver was missing 2 of their best players and they still couldn't beat them. Or 2 starters, I think. What was it? He said 2 starters, right?
Well, Murray was out. I don't know. I didn't catch much of that series.
They were missing 2 of their starters. Okay, obviously the Joker is their best player, so it wasn't their 2 best players, but they were missing 2 starters, and Lillard was extremely annoyed the fact that they were missing 2 of their starters and they still couldn't beat him. And
I would be too. I would be too.
Can't blame him for that. Can't blame him.
No one's going to Portland. No one's signing in Portland.
Don't know.
No one's going to sign in Portland. Do you think Kawhi Leonard's going to go to Portland?
No, I don't. Kawhi, no.
Portland is not a destination free agent spot.
If Kawhi doesn't stay with LA, I think he would go to the Knicks because I think he wants to play in a big market.
I would trade Ben Simmons and Tyrese Maxey for Dame Lillard in 5 seconds.
Yeah, and I don't think Portland would. I think Portland would want a lot more than that.
How much is a lot more than that? I'm giving you an established all-star and an up-and-coming guy who looks great.
I think Ben Simmons is the most overrated player in the NBA, especially in Philly. I mean, you guys make him out to be some kind of a superhero, and he's not.
Don't. Ben Simmons gets crushed more than anybody ever.
He's not that good. Okay, and
I don't agree with that.
Trade value wise, he's a wart on an elephant's ass compared to Lillard. Let's be honest. I mean, listen, you're not going to get no when a team trades a superstar. You're not going to get equal value. You just won't. But I mean, I think it would take more than those 2 guys to get that done.
Like how much more?
Well, I mean, you'd probably have to include Harris.
No, I'm not gutting my team because then I have Dame Lillard and Joel Embiid and nothing.
Well, that's probably what it would take. I mean, take a
And
look
that's not
take a
smart.
look at take a look at what Brooklyn had to give up to get Harden. I mean, I think that's the same kind of. I think that would be the same kind of trade. If you make a trade with them for Lillard, you're going to have.
But I would trade Tyrese Maxey and Ben Simmons for Dame Lillard. I wouldn't trade Ben Simmons. I wouldn't trade Ben Simmons and Tyrese Maxey for James Harden.
Well, it's still you're still talking about the same level player. Whether you like Harden or not, Harden is a great player.
James Harden's a mutt when it comes to winning time. Look at him in this series. He left game 1 with a hamstring. It's always something with him in crush time.
He got hurt. Things happen.
Yeah,
you can't.
Brad,
you can't
when guys get hurt, every time the going gets tough and it's time to strap up, put the big boy pants on, and it's comes up short. Comes up short. Hurt.
How did he play against Boston?
Oh wow! In the first round against a significantly inferior opponent, who gives a shit?
Well, they're a better team than Boston, but the whole point is, and I think if he can come back, I don't know if he can or not. Who knows?
I don't even know if he's playing tonight. I just turned the game on.
Well, he's not playing. No, he's not playing tonight. I know he's out tonight.
Brooklyn is putting it on Milwaukee, 50-29, midway through the second.
Brooklyn played an unbelievable game 1.
They're up 19 now. Giannis just strong take to the hole.
I mean, it's funny. I read a poll today. And the Knicks website, and they polled 80 Knicks fans and asked them if any of them were rooting for Brooklyn to win the championship. And you know how many were rooting for Brooklyn to win a championship?
0%.
0. Nobody. I mean, nobody who's a Knicks fan wants to see them win a championship. Nobody. I mean, so whatever Brooklyn does, it's not like they're going to take over New York. So they'll do what they do, but we'll see. I mean, as far as Harden goes, Harden's a great player, but if he's not going to be on the court, Brooklyn's going to have to find a way to win. Now, if Brooklyn wins a championship without Harden, then you got that's something. That would be something that that would be a strike against Harden.
For sure.
They certainly have a chance to do that. I'm not saying they will, and God forbid if they do, because then the Knicks fans are never going to hear the end of it. But anything's possible at this point. But I mean, as far as the Sixers are concerned, Rob, if Embiid can play and he can put in as much time as he did on the court as he did in Game 1, I think the Sixers will be okay. It's not going to be an easy series, though. I mean, I think
his knee is going to deteriorate as time goes on.
Well, the key for them is win 3 in a row with him out there, and then game 5, you can rest him. I mean, I don't know.
Like I would just give him Game 1. I would just rest Joe Game 1. You're not playing. Get the treatment, ice it, rest, and we'll reevaluate you on Tuesday morning.
I think they're gonna play him. I think he's gonna play in pain, and he's gonna go as far as he can, and try to win. I think that's what he's gonna do. And you know what? If he does that, God bless him. If the pain becomes too great,
that's what he should do.
And he can't play. Well, then you know what? You guys will all know in your heart of hearts, the guy gave every ounce he could get, and you know what? In this town, they'll leave him the hell alone. He'll never hear shit again.
Right.
I mean, I
agree with that. Like I said,
that's what I think is going to end up happening. I think he's going to give you everything he can, and hopefully he'll have enough. And he'll get surgery on his knee. He may not play again until January, but he'll get surgery on his knee, and then you'll tie up the sneakers and you'll be ready to go get him next year.
Yeah, I know. Then he won't play till January. Then he'll need a month and a half to get in shape, and then by the time
you'll still be in the playoffs.
Yeah, by the time it's the playoff time, he'll have they'll probably tear his other meniscus or something else.
Well, hopefully
and this team.
Hopefully that won't happen, Rob. I mean, the thing is, you have to look at how dominant he is.
I mean,
what a dominant player he is.
He is dominant. This is why it's a shame that his dominance is wasted on such a brittle body.
Now,
I mean, it's his foot, it's his back, it's his knee.
The other thing is, and again, being of a lot of you guys at your age, haven't seen what it's really like to have other than a dominant center. The last real dominant center that we saw in the NBA who could tear everybody apart was Shaquille O'Neal. I mean, when you have a dominant center, it's almost impossible to stop him. The only way you can stop him is to try to not let him get the ball. And it's very hard to deny a guy the ball because you can literally dribble right up to the guy and then hand it to him if you have to. I mean, that's the whole thing. They can go off screens to get open. You can't deny Joel Embiid the ball. He's going to get the ball. And you know what? If he gets the ball, he's going to score at least 30 points every game. Nobody in the league could stop him. The only problem is so can Trae Young. Trae Young's still going to get his 30 points too. So the rest of your cast has to outplay the rest of their cast.
Bob Brickman, he says, put Maxey on Young, fast on fast. I gotta put Ben on Trae Young. And every time you mirror the breaks, you mirror the substitution in the minutes. Like when Trae Young gets his break, that's when you take Ben Simmons out and you put Maxey in to run the point. And then when Trae Young comes back in, you put Ben back in. Ben Simmons needs to be in his pocket the entire game. Because Ben is tough and physical on the defensive end. And if Trae Young gets 30 points on Ben Simmons, which he probably will, but he'll have earned it. I mean, Danny Green, Brad, on Sunday, my God. I mean, Danny Green should have been on Trae Young for a possession, maybe two. And anyone with a brain, half a basketball IQ, could see that Danny Green couldn't stick with Trae Young. And it should have been addressed immediately.
Is there anybody who really can, though?
No, but there's guys who could do a better job than Danny Green did. I mean, it was Matador defense all day long. I mean, my God, they gave up 75 points in the first half at home with Joel Embiid not healthy, but in the game.
I have a strong feeling that game 2, the Sixers are gonna whoop them. And
if Joe plays,
he'll play. Have we heard anything to the contrary?
No, we haven't heard anything about anything.
So why? Okay.
I don't expect. But I don't know, Brad. I don't know. His knee could be the size of a bowling ball right now. I have no idea. Nobody does. So, until I get a tweet from Keith Pompey or Woj or one of these NBA insiders, Sixers insiders, it's like nervous time. It's going to be like that the whole rest of the playoffs. Is he going to play? Is he not going to play? Sounds like if it's up to him, he's going to play.
Well, I think he's going to play unless he physically can't go out there. I think it's going to be like you remember Robert Griffin III?
Right.
In that playoff game when he played with a bad knee, where he played till he basically couldn't walk. I think that's what Joe's going to do.
But that's not good either, because that's where the Sixers need to protect Joe from himself.
Okay, but I think if it's up to him, I think he's going to go out there and he's going to give it all he's got and try to play through all the pain, and hopefully for him, he'll be able to play all these playoff games.
Right, and I'm as mad as anybody that he got hurt again, and he has to miss. Probably going to need surgery again, and he might not be ready for the start of the next season again. But I'm also not in favor of allowing him to dictate how hard he pushes himself, because I don't want this having Joel Embiid turn into the next Robert Griffin III. That doesn't do anything for the process. That makes me even madder at the process, because now you got to find a new centerpiece.
Well, I think at this point, he's going to play.
It's frustrating, Brad. It's frustrating to be a Sixers fan. It really is.
I get it. Listen,
it's really frustrating.
Yeah, I got one of those. I got one of those on my team too. Who can never stay on the baseball field? You know, Mr. Stanton, who can never stay on the baseball field. And then when he gets injured and then he comes back, he's a misfit for a month.
Right, because he's a rhythm guy.
Right, exactly. And so, I get it. I know where you're coming from. I know how it feels, and it kind of sucks. But this is what you've got right now. But you know what? He's able to play right now, and he's still productive. I mean, if worse comes to worse, you cut his minutes, or you don't start him, and you play him sparingly in the first half, and you use him a lot more in the second half, and you try to get by in the first half and keep it close. I mean, you maybe just have to manage his minutes when he's on the court. I mean, that's something you can do.
But Brett, it's such a delicate balance, because if you manage his minutes too much, then you're going to lose.
But if you slow down the game a little, and to manage his minutes, then you've got a chance to win. Because I think if Philly and Atlanta are running, or if they're running, I don't think Philly can keep up with them. I think Atlanta's faster than them.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think if Philly slows the game down and makes it a half-court game, even without Joe in the first half, he only plays maybe 8 of the 24 minutes. Okay, he can still be effective in the first half, and if you can keep it close, if you're down 2 or 4 or 5 points or something like that, you give him the bulk of his minutes in the second half, you could still win. Yeah, but I think they're going to – I mean, I think that one of the mistakes they made was that they were trying to go up and down the court with them yesterday, and you can't do – that team is just – they're an offensive machine. The Sixers have to play defense and take it slow and try to limit the possessions somewhat. I mean, the Sixers can score. They proved that against Washington. They scored 129 points in that game. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot of points. Go out. You go out there. Slow it down a little bit. You don't have to go mano a mano with these guys. The bottom line is win the game. Okay. You don't have to look good doing it. There's no reason to try to do it any other way. Just go out there, play smart, and win the game. Okay. You're not gonna beat them by running up and down the court. And furthermore, Embiid can't be running up and down the court. You got to slow it down. Get into your sets, feed him down low, and let him make his plays, and he doesn't have to kill himself running up and down the court. That's going to be the key. That's going to be up to Rivers to make it work, and he's certainly smart enough to figure it out.
He's got a long way. This playoffs, Doc Rivers has been piss poor.
He played on a team back in the 90s that basically lived off of that, and that was the New York Knickerbockers when they had Patrick Ewing. You slowed it down. They slowed it down, and Patrick Ewing always had bad knees. You slow it down, okay, and then you feed Patrick Ewing. Well, the Sixers got to do the same thing. You slow it down, and you feed Embiid, and that's how they're going to win these games. And Boston came back and scored, by the way, so now it's 5-3 Islanders.
Did we miss a goal? Did I miss a goal? I guess I missed a goal.
Yeah, Eberle scored.
Again?
Yep. So it's 5, but Boston just scored again. So
I saw that.
Yeah, now it's 5-3.
This game's far. Why do I feel like this game's far from over?
Well, Boston can score, but the Islanders are really tough defensively. Yeah, that Varlamov had no chance on that.
No. I mean, they're on the power play. I mean, they move the puck so great, and that's just Pasternak again.
You're not stopping. Pasternak is a lot like Ovechkin. He likes to play on that. He likes to play on the off wing, and just slam in that shot from the off wing face-off circle. That was just a beautiful.
I know.
Play.
I do have. I bet $50 on the Bruins to win the Stanley Cup when they got Hall.
Well, this game's not over, Rob. One thing I could tell
Well,
you about
that's my rooting interest now that the Flyers obviously been out for a while, but that's my rooting interest in the NHL playoffs.
No, my rooting interest is as long as the Islanders don't win, I'm happy. I just don't want to see the Islanders win the Stanley Cup. I just, you know what? Those assholes kept fans of theirs were always yelling Poffins. Not Poffins, I'm sorry, 1940. They were the ones that started that nasty 1940 chant with the Rangers. You know what? I don't forget. I'll never forget. That's why I never root for that team. For me to root for a team from Boston, being a Yankee fan is just totally against all of my principles. But you know what? We're talking about the Islanders here. Shouldn't even count. My wife made a joke about that. I said to her, you know, I'm actually rooting for Boston to beat the Islanders. And she said, well, it doesn't count because it's the Islanders.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's.
How about the Montreal Canadiens are up 1-0 on the Winnipeg Jets?
Winnipeg's done. They're done.
I mean, whether they win tonight or not, I mean, you're down 3-0.
It doesn't matter. They're done. You know, losing Sheffield, to me, has absolutely killed them. But you know, they didn't have Sheffield last year, so if you're a Winnipeg Jet fan, though, you got
that hit that everyone was talking, that cheap shot.
Yep. But he shouldn't have been suspended 4 games. That was ridiculous. First of all, it wasn't.
I thought it was heavy. I thought 4 games was heavy.
I looked at it first. I thought it was really a dangerous cheap shot. But you know, the more I looked at that trick, I looked at that. You know, it wasn't a dirty check. Okay, but it was predatory because he went for his head. It looked like it may have been predatory.
It was definitely predatory. He was being a sore loser because the Canadians were about to get an empty net goal and ice the game, and he
had already scored, and he hit him after the puck was in the net.
Correct.
Had he still had the puck and he hit him like that, that would have been one thing.
Yeah, okay? I thought, but like to compare that to like Tom Wilson or some of these other cheap shots we see around the league,
or what Reeves did.
Reeves, yes.
Reeves should have gotten more than 2 games, but you know, I mean, Reeves is Reeves, and you know, you expect nothing less. I mean, listen, I love the guys. I've told you this a million times about him. I love Reeves as a player. Okay, but I mean, you know, we all know what he's about. Okay, and he should have gotten more than 2 games. Why they let a guy like him get away with that? And Sheffield, who really is not a dirty player, shouldn't have gotten 4 games. That's too many. I think 2 would have been enough. You know, but I mean, at this point, it doesn't matter. Winnipeg's not winning that series right now. Carey Price right now is playing like Bertie Perrant did in 73, 74, and 74, 75. I mean, they just can't score him. He's phenomenal in this series.
And then it looks like Tampa's in the driver's seat. They're up 3-1 on Carolina,
which I told you was going to happen.
You did.
I told you when.
You always picked the Lightning for the last 10 years.
True, but I knew they weren't going to lose to. There's no way they were going to lose to the Hurricanes. The Hurricanes are not the team that would beat them. The team that could beat them could be a team like the Islanders or Boston, who's physical and can beat the crap out of them. That's the kind of team that can beat them. A team that tries to skate with them, there's no chance for a team like that to beat Tampa Bay. Especially when Kucherov is back and he's playing great in the playoffs, by the way, and Stamkos is playing healthy. I mean, they're better this year than they were last year.
And then you're going to have tomorrow the Avalanche and the Golden Knights. They'll get back at it as well.
That's going to be a great game.
Game 5, they're going back to Colorado. Series tied 2-2.
It's been a homer series, but you know what? I could see them pulling. I could see the Golden Knights pulling off the upset. And Don 19, I totally agree with you. I think they can. Fleury right now, the way he's playing, it's going to be very, very tough for Colorado. He is playing at a very, very high level again, and that's dangerous. When he's playing like this, you know, the Vegas Golden Knights are going to be tough to beat. So Vegas is always going to find a way to score. I mean, last night obviously is Marchessault with the hat trick, and he was just fabulous. But they always find a way to score. They're not the most gifted offensive team, but you know, if it's not him, it's William Karlsson. It's always somebody.
Wow. Is that a cheapie?
I think the
I
Bruins.
thought there was a goal. No.
No, that wasn't a goal. That was that. I think there's going to be a penalty on the Islanders. I think. No, apparently not.
I was confused. Everyone has to have their hands up.
Yeah. I guess not. Okay, what happened here?
Nothing.
I know. I think that should be the puck went out of the rink. That should be a delay of game. I don't know. Well, whatever. Obviously, I must not know what I'm talking about because the officials are always right. Right?
Now these it's getting chippy, is what it is. There's been a couple big hits in the last few minutes.
And it's going to start getting chippier.
13 minutes.
Both teams have to keep their composure, though. You can't. This is not the time to be. This is not the time to be getting into fights or provoking fights, and you got to avoid those scrums because you can't allow the other team to get a power play, especially the Bruins, who basically their special teams are costing them this game right now. They've given up 3 power play goals tonight.
Yeah,
that can't happen. Rob, I want to talk a little baseball because I got.
We here at A2D Radio are introducing an A2D membership for $9.99 a month. You can get some amazing perks, including shout-outs, member-only views, members-only shows, appearances, and weekly picks from the Money Pop podcast. Sign up today, a2dradio.com. Go ahead. What's on your mind about baseball?
Okay. You know who I want to talk about right now.
We're going to talk about the Yankees and how much you think they suck. And
well, it's not just that, okay? It is an insult to a Yankee fan's intelligence that Aaron Boone continues to be employed by the New York Yankees. It is also an insult to one's intelligence that Brian Cashman continues to be employed by this team. This is a damn disgrace. What's going on right now with them just not having any emotion, not caring one bit about what goes on with this team, to allow this garbage to continue is a disgrace. To allow a moron like Aaron Boone to run this team is just one kick in the butt after another. I don't get it with how Yankee fans can defend this guy. He's got to be one of the dumbest men to ever manage this team. I mean, just last night, okay? Are you going to tell me that Aroldis Chapman can't pitch 2 innings? He threw 12 pitches last night in the 9th inning. 12 pitches. The man hasn't pitched since Wednesday. He hasn't pitched since Wednesday. So he has Thursday, Friday, Saturday. He has 3 days off and an off day tonight, and the guy can't throw more than 12 pitches. Okay? That was the game the Yankees had to win. And what does Aaron Boone do? Once again, he shows what a complete baby he is and how he babies these players. Okay? We need Giancarlo Stanton to be on the damn field and play. What does he do with the day before, with an off day the next day? He rests him so he can get 2 days in a row off. The guy's a designated hitter. What the hell is going on? Is he injured again? I mean, what did a bird poop on his head and he has a concussion? I mean, what the hell is this guy? This guy is so clueless, I can't take it. And then last night, the biggest insult in the 9th inning, 3-2 to Rougned Odor. Okay, runners on first and second, 2 out. The pitcher throws a pitch which is a foot outside, and the umpire calls it a strike. Okay, Bill Nevin gets thrown out. One coach, the other coach, who I can't remember at this time, got thrown out. 2 coaches get thrown out. Does Aaron Boone get thrown out? No, he doesn't get thrown out. He just sits there. He just sits there with his and pulling on his cap. I mean, this guy. Does this guy even have a pulse? I mean, I'm sorry, but Boone has to get thrown out too. Okay, he's just a little weasel who basically is a puppet for the big weasel upstairs, who's Brian Cashman, who thinks a computer can win a championship. Hey, Brian, you haven't won since 2009. Throw away the dang computer and let your baseball guys make the decisions, not a computer and not some computer geek who doesn't know the difference between a baseball and a hockey puck. Okay? I'll tell you what, you guys get your brains beaten on this road trip and you come back home next week, there ain't going to be no fans coming in your 90% full stadium. Okay? Nobody's going to come. You know why? Because everybody's mad. Okay? Everybody's mad because you're not doing anything. You're not making any trades. Every trade you do make is to get somebody off the trash heap. How about trying to get a good player onto this team? Stop with the garbage picking. Stop with no trades at the trade deadline. Okay? Jameson Taillon, who hadn't pitched in a year and a half, and you throw 4 minor leaguers to Pittsburgh to get this guy. Come on. Okay? That was a ridiculously stupid move. And then you resign Brett Gardner, who barely hit 200 last year. You waste $4 million on him, and now you're crying because you can't find any money to go out and get a player. This is ridiculous. And then there's the other cheap idiot, Hal Steinbrenner, who is so insistent that he doesn't want to go over the cap. Meanwhile, Los Angeles goes over the cap. San Diego goes over the cap, but you can't. I mean, this is New York. This is the Bronx. These are the New York Yankees. Hal, if you don't want to pay to have a good team, then get the hell out of here, sell the team, and go on your way and go build some more ships. Okay? Because your father right now, if he was alive, would be calling you a disgrace to the pinstripes. And I'm done, Rob.
31-29. You're 6.5 back of the Rays, who just seem to never lose baseball game. How about the Rays? They're 23-10 away on the road. 23-10 on the road. 15-13 at home.
And what's their payroll, by the way? $60 million?
Not a lot.
Exactly. You know what? When the Rays need to get a good player, do they always find one? Of course they do. Of course they do. And I'll tell you what, when the Nationals trade Max Scherzer at the trade deadline, you know who's going to get him? Either Boston or Houston. But it won't be the Yankees because Brian Cashman is a blood-sucking leech. And Hal Steinbrenner is a parasite who has opened a Major League Baseball team.
I'll tell you what, I really like if the Red Sox are able to score, Max Scherzer at the trade deadline.
God forbid if they do. Because if they do, you know what? They might win a championship. And you know why? Because Hal Steinbrenner is a worm, Brian Cashman is a blood-sucking leech, and Aaron Boone is a moron with no backbone. Period.
Like you look at them, I keep expecting the Yankees to get going, and they've lost 4 in a row. They've lost.
DJ LeMahieu got paid, and now he doesn't give a shit. He's hitting .247. Okay, now he's back to being DJ LeMahieu on the Rockies after 2 years where he hit .360 one year and .340 another.
No, that's not fair because he had great seasons in Colorado.
Okay, well, where is he right now? .247.
Well, he's not. He's not anywhere right now.
He's 8 for 40 with runners in scoring position. Judge has been the whole offense. Gleyber Torres can't hit a home run. He can't buy. He hit a home run last night, but he has 3 home runs this season. He had 38 2 years ago. Okay,
what's going on there?
What you tell me, Rob, because I have no clue what's going on.
You watch the games every night. I've been telling you for the whole season that, and we had Ron Bloomberg on our show, and he said the same thing. That Gleyber Torres is out of position.
But that has nothing to do with – what's that have to do with his hitting, though? I'm not talking
these
about –
These guys are soft, man. These guys are mentally weak.
You know what? That has not – that's not –
their approach to hitting that's getting preached. The coaches are trying to change Gleyber Torres.
Well, that's the batting coach, who's another one, Marcus Timms, who we want out. Okay, and they won't – and Aaron Boone, who has – no spine, he's a spineless jellyfish, hasn't fired Marcus Thames yet either. Okay,
Marcus Thames? He used to be on the Tigers, didn't he?
Yeah, well, he's a batting coach. He actually came up with the Yankees. As a matter of fact, his first at bat in the major leagues, he had a home run off of Randy Johnson. So you can hit the ball, but you know what? He's not qualified either. And at this point, this team is a mess. And A-Rod put it best last night, okay? Computers don't win championships. Human beings do. Stop with the computers already. You know, if you don't have baseball guys, then go get some baseball guys who can actually do something, who can actually tell you what to do. I mean, it's not a hard concept. You saw it basically. Boston just plays smart baseball to score runs. The Yankees are a one-trick pony. They either hit a home run, or they hit into a double play, or they strike out. That's it with the Yankees. Okay, Boston, they get a runner on second with nobody out. You're guaranteed somebody's going to hit the ball to the right side to move him to third, and then that sacrifice fly is right around the corner. That's how Boston plays, and Boston plays ABC baseball. And you know what? The Yankees are not playing ABC baseball. Tampa Bay plays ABC baseball. What Brian Cashman has built is a team that's totally right-handed. So you know what Boston and Tampa Bay do? They go and they get a bullpen with all right-handed pitchers, and they just neutralize the Yankees so they can't do anything when the bullpens come in the game. There's no left-handed power on this team. I mean, you have a short porch in right field, and the only ones that are hitting home runs to right field are the other teams. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, does Cashman even pay attention to the stadium the Yankees are playing in? I mean, I just don't get. I don't get the whole makeup of this team, how it was built. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's unfathomable that you don't have any left-handed hitters on this team. You know, and don't tell me about Brett Gardner. Brett Gardner can't hit anymore. He is so done. It's beyond ridiculous. Rougned Odor. I mean, it's an insult to watch him.
Rougned Odor is a stiff.
He's not good.
He was a stiff on the Rangers, and he's a stiff on the Yankees. I can't even believe the Yankees like have a guy like him.
Well, ask Brian Cashman why you got him, because I have no clue. Okay, that was just again another mindless trade trying to go to the flea market to get players. The Yankees should not be going to the flea market to get players. The Yankees should be going. They don't have to always look at the top shelf to get guys. But how about getting some good ball players, okay? Or bring up some guys. Why not bring up Estevan Florial? Okay, it took you 50 million years to bring up Chris Gittins. I mean, and I know we didn't do anything last night, but you're not going to not let him play after even with a bad night against Boston. At least give him a chance. Estevan Florial, why not let him play center field? He can't be any worse than Gardner. And for crying out loud, you're putting Tyler Wade out in center field? Tyler Wade can't hit either. So, I mean, it's just they're so poorly run at this point that, you know what, it's almost as a Yankee fan, you almost want them to lose so that they start making changes with their management because it's enough already. I mean, they're built the wrong way. And it's really disgraceful. I mean, yeah, Stanton will come back. He'll hit some home runs, and then they'll have a winning streak, and then he'll get hurt again, and then they'll start losing again. So I mean, me.
Just to look at, so Yankees 6.5 back, 2.5 back in the wild card.
They're going to come in fourth. Okay, they're not going to make it.
The Yankees are 17-16 at home. They're 14-13 on the road. The Kansas City Royals are 3 games back in the wild card. They're 16-15 at home. They're 13-13 on the road. The Yankees have a run differential of -4. The Royals have a run differential of -6. The Royals have lost 2 games in a row. The Yankees have lost 4 games in a row. The Kansas City Royals are 6. The Kansas City Royals are 6-4 in their last 10. The New York Yankees are 2-8.
It's pretty bad.
So most aspects.
There's no excuse.
Like that's like I know I read some of those stats, but that's their home road splits, their run differential, their current streak, whether it's winning or losing, and their last 10 games. And the Yankees are neck and neck with the Kansas City Royals.
Pretty bad, huh?
That's.
By the way, the Bruins have scored again. It is now
5-4, far from over. 5 minutes to go. Yep, that's in.
That's in.
And then,
if it wasn't in, they made sure it was in.
And then you look at the National League. I mean, are these San Francisco Giants for real?
Well, they're continuing to hang in there, Rob. I mean, and they're doing a pretty good job of it. You know, they found themselves a closer with Rogers. He looks like a pretty good reliever. They have a very easy schedule, by the way, this week. I think they're playing at Colorado, and they got Colorado, I believe, in Arizona this week, or Seattle, one of those teams. But
Arizona is dreadful. They
yeah,
suck.
they really are. They really are a bad baseball.
I just look at their roster.
Shouldn't be that. They shouldn't be this bad, but they're going to be playing. And by the way, speaking of Arizona, there's a player on Arizona who Brian Cashman, who should seriously be looking at, who would be a perfect fit.
Peralta?
And I think you know who I'm talking about. He's a left-handed batter who plays in the outfield.
David Peralta.
David Peralta. You tell me he wouldn't be a perfect fit on the New York Yankees.
He's a lefty. He's an average guy too. Like he's going to hit you 280, which is basically like hitting 400 these days.
Right. How many home runs would he hit in Yankee Stadium with that short porch?
Probably more than in Arizona.
Arizona's a generous ballpark. Right field it would be tailor made for him. You know, I mean, but these are the kind of players the Yankees should have been trying to.
Where do you play? What do you put him in left?
Yeah.
What do you do with him? Yeah.
You put him in left. Well, would you rather see Clint Frazier out there and his 180 batting average?
Clint Frazier. I thought he was a player. I thought he was going to take a step.
He's been a stiff.
He hasn't done anything.
You've got to realize this and move on, and not continue to keep throwing him out there. You know, he's a stiff. It's time to move on. David Peralta would help. I'm not saying that he'd be the cure to all their ills, but he would certainly help a guy like him. I mean, there are guys that would fit on Arizona on the Yankees very well.
Well, the Diamondbacks are a disaster. I mean, they suck. They have nothing. There's just nothing there. Like, what's the point of having Ketel Marte and
exactly
and David Peralta?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. And those are guys that the Yankees should be looking at.
The Yankees don't want to trade prospects. They prospect. They've been prospect hunting for years.
And this is a Brian Cashman problem. Okay, Brian Cashman is really the problem with this team. And everybody wants to give him credit for building this team. I get that. Okay, they had a nice class of young players that they brought up. Okay, but you still have to make moves to continue to improve the team. Signing Garrett Cole is not a brilliant move by Brian Cashman. Okay,
right.
You and I could have figured that one out. Okay, that's a brainless move. Anybody could do that. Okay, that's like signing Bryce Harper. Okay, any idiot could tell you, yeah, you should sign Bryce Harper. He's a great player. Sign him. Yeah, no kidding. We know that, but you know what? There's little moves to improve your team, okay, that you can do. Gio Urshela, nice pickup, okay, it worked out well, but
he hasn't been that hot this year, though.
No, well, he's also been hurt. He has he's playing with an injured knee, so he's not able to play every game. I mean, it's not all him, but you know what? He's hit the quality of his play has gone down.
But who on the Yankees is having a good year besides Aaron Judge?
Nobody. Chapman. I take it back. Chapman's been unbelievable. I think his ERA is like 0.40.
What about Cole?
Cole's been pitching great, but they never score any runs for him.
Right. It's
okay,
like the Jacob deGrom syndrome.
His last game wasn't very good, but I mean, he's been pretty good. Okay, Jake deGrom is just. Jake deGrom at this point isn't even human. What is his ERA now?
It's down to 0.62. Guy's one of
the greatest pitchers I've ever seen. I mean, it's unbelievable how good that guy is. It's mind baffling. Rob, what's going on with your Phillies? The
National League East, a division that we've touted as being really good and really competitive, and it is competitive, but not because the teams are good. I mean, you have the Mets at 29-23 with all their injuries. They're 3.5 clear of the Braves. They're 4 clear of the Phillies. The Nationals stink. They're 7 games back. The Marlins stink. They're 7.5 games back. But the Mets are the only team in the National League East that have a plus run differential. They're the only team that has a winning record in their last 10 games. Now,
and that's after losing 3 out of 4 against San Diego.
The Phillies, they got Harper back. They have Realmuto back. It doesn't sound like Didi Gregorius is coming back anytime soon. But you have Aaron Nola, who's been disappointing. Velasquez and Eflin are kind of coming back to earth.
Wheeler's
spectacular.
He's an all-star. He might he might even be the second best pitcher in the National League. How about that?
Yeah, they need to have like the Cy Young outside. There needs to be 2 Cy Youngs in the National League. There needs to be the one that goes to Jacob DeGrom, the real one, and then there needs to be an award for the best pitcher that's not Jacob DeGrom.
Yeah, at this point, I would agree.
That would probably be
Zach Wheeler's
it would be either him or Trevor Bauer, who's been absolutely excellent for the Los Angeles Dodgers. But
yeah, he's been
tremendous. But I don't know. The Phillies, I mean, their road woes continue. They're 11-19 on the road. They're good at home, 17-11. But the Mets are good at home too. They're 15-5 at home. And then the Braves, I don't understand the Braves at all. The Braves are 17-17 at home and 11-12 on the road. I keep expecting
What's the Braves' record against teams with winning records, though? That's what I'd like to know.
I don't have that in front of me, but I mean they're 28-29 overall. Phillies are 28-30.
Yeah, and Atlanta's record against the American League East is just.
But I mean,
mostly bad.
The Mets are 3.5 up on the Braves, and they haven't even had a full lineup the entire season. I mean, it looks like
the Mets at one point had 16 guys on the DL. I don't think I've ever seen that before.
It's been crazy, and they're in first place. The surprise in the National League to me, Brad, has been the Chicago Cubs, who are tied for first place in the National League Central. They're 33-26. They're the only team in that division with a plus run differential. I don't think Milwaukee's that good at all. I think St. Louis has got pitching problems because Flaherty's on the DL, and no one really knows when he's going to come back. So that's a big problem for their pitching staff. So that's Central. I mean, we talked about it. I think I picked the Brewers in the preseason. You picked the Cardinals. Neither of us picked the Cubbies, but the Cubbies are really.
I'll give you credit about the Brewers because the Brewers have 2 outstanding starters in Woodruff and Peralta. I mean, they're both tremendous pitchers.
I mean, Burns? Burns is a beast.
Burns, 3 pitcher. I forgot about Corbin Burns. Yeah, he's great. The Brewers, who I didn't know they'd have this good pitching. I mean, did you think their pitching would be this good?
No. I mean, Corbin Burns is on my fantasy team. I mean, he was a big draft target of mine. I thought he had potential, but I mean, he's been lights out.
That was a great play for you, most definitely.
And the Bruins have just pulled their goalie
with 1 and 45 seconds.
1:42 left, but yeah, the Cubs. I mean, they're 21-10 at home, so they got to get a little better on the road. But that seems like there's no good road teams anymore, except Tampa Bay, who's 23-10 because they're just a juggernaut with no talent and no payroll. It's crazy.
What amazes me about Tampa Bay, they trade Blake Snell, okay, and it's just like they signed Rich Hill, and Rich Hill basically is pitching better than
winging the ball. He's winging the ball in there.
He's
pitching fantastic.
I had Rich Hill on my fantasy team. I picked him up early in the season, and he got murdered. I mean, he pitched 4 games and had a 7 ERA, and I got rid of him. And boy, I'm sorry that happened, but that I let him go. But I mean, who would have thought at 41 years old, a guy like that he'd be out pitching Blake Snell?
And then you got the West.
Glass now is one of the top pitchers in the American League. So
yeah, he's a beast. Yeah, I doubt they're going to pay him. I mean, his contract's got to be up soon.
I don't know.
They're going to pay him.
I'd have to look that up. To be honest with you, I don't know. I would think probably within the next year or two he's going to be gone.
But, I mean, the Phillies, they got to start stringing together some games. You got Harper back. You got Real Muto back. I mean, you got one guy who is an ace in Zach Wheeler and one guy who everyone tells me is an ace, even though I don't see it, have never seen it, in Aaron Nola. So, like, they got to start stringing some
they got to start hitting the ball. I mean, that's what I mean, the Yankee demise, I didn't
They're
see
very
that.
similar. They're very similar teams, Brad. The Yankees and the Phillies.
They are. They both have a great.
They strike out way too. Like, bet the over. You want to make a small fortune quick? Bet the over on the strikeouts of the opposing pitcher against the Phillies or the Yankees. It sounds like, for that matter.
Oh yeah,
they strike out an awful lot.
Yeah, well, I think they struck out on Friday night. I think they struck out 16 times.
You get like middle of the road pitchers, like, and strikeouts against the Phillies. It's just like, come on, guys! Like, see the ball, hit the ball, put the ball in play, make someone make a play, make them make a mistake.
It's pretty painful to watch.
It's brutal because I don't think the bullpen's been. I mean, the bullpen's blown a couple of games, but that happens over the course of 162 games. But Jose Alvarado and Coonrad and Archie Bradley's back now. So, like, there's guys back there in the back end that are far superior than that of what we watched in the bubble. So the Phillies got to get going because there's three.
Now that they've got Muto back and they've got Harper back, that should help.
It should, yeah. And they put up some crooked numbers in Washington over the weekend, so that was a little encouraging. But then you got the West. Before we get out of here, the Giants, I guess they're for real, and they're a juggernaut, even though I don't really trust them. And then you got the Padres and the Dodgers, who are loaded, obviously. And then Colorado and Arizona stinks. Then you look at the wild card, because, like, if San Francisco Giants don't come back to earth, then the Central and the East are one-bid divisions.
I think they're going to be one-bid divisions anyway. The way San Francisco's been playing, and San Francisco's got pitching. That's the one thing that will probably stay with them the whole season is the fact that they've got a good, deep pitching staff. And Kevin Gausman this year has been out of his mind great.
Because there's no way that the Brewers, the Cubs, the Cardinals, the Reds, the Braves, the Phillies, any of these teams are beating out Los Angeles or San Diego.
No.
And for a wild card. And that's a big road win for the New York Islanders. They're able to ice that one away.
They now have a 3-2 lead in the best of 7 series.
It'll be closeout time. It'll be closeout time in
in
Brooklyn.
Yeah, and no, they're playing at the Nassau Coliseum now, so it's going to be.
I'm sorry, they don't play. I thought they played at the Barclays Center.
No, they haven't played there all year. But it's going to be closeout time for them at the Nassau Coliseum on what today is Monday, so Wednesday I would assume is their next game. The Bruins are going to be up against it, so we'll see what happens. But the Bruins tonight. They territorially outplayed the Islanders, but you know what? They just made too many glaring mistakes, and they took too many penalties. If the Bruins are going to come back and beat the Islanders in game 6, they're going to have to stay out of the penalty box.
I mean, that killed them tonight. 3 power play goals. I mean,
and Winnipeg's not going down quietly tonight. They scored a couple of goals. Wow, Carey Price. They just showed Winnipeg's tying goal. Carey Price fans on a 50-foot shot with nobody in front of him, basically. Wow. Was that deflected? Maybe that was deflected.
No, he just got beat.
How do you like that?
That'll do it for this edition of the Sports Hounds. He's Brad Ryer. I'm Rob Brinkman. Huge shout out to Frank Vesey for producing the program. Until next Monday, peace out, everybody.